Out of the fight today, not an easy atmosphere to walk into, knowing how the previous games had gone and knowing the results of those. Not good enough. Today was a day they had to answer, and we tried to make this a one-game championship. Like, let's go. We can't do anything about the series or the other two games. Could we have won the games? I suppose we could have. We did not. They played great. That is a physical, experienced, tough offensive team. We talk about less than two-strike hitting and two-strike hitting, and I'm sure they do too. Like, it was dynamic, less than two strikes, and they fouled pitches off and fought and extended at-bats, and they barreled a lot of baseballs. And I was very impressed. They have an older group, very experienced, very physical. Carson, you see the stuff. We're trying, and he's trying like mad to figure out how to capture and harness that stuff. The left-handed hitters clearly were all over it, and there was no margin of error with them. And when we put up the beginning, we thought we needed to extend. Somebody needed to eat some innings, and we thought with the part of the lineup we were in with him that he could get a little bit further and maybe feel more comfortable with the lead. And tip my hat, the Gulf Coast, they were right back at it and right back on it, and Wyatt settled the game. Did a nice job. All of his pitches were in play. His fastball had some life and velo. Slider was good. Used his changeup. Commanded the game, control of the game, extended, and then dug at the end to wrap it up. Not easy, not pleasant this weekend, but to win the game when your back's against the wall, the way that felt, I'm very proud of our guys and how they performed and competed today.
How big, you had a 3-run lead, you had your best pitcher on the mound, but getting that 4 spot in the 8th, and Vincent's double off the screen had to give you a little bit of a sigh of relief, I would imagine.
I'm not sure I had a sigh of relief until strike 3. The way this day felt, 7 seemed like 3. It just did. The ball was jumping. The field firmed up because of the sun and the wind, so you saw the ball starting to hop, and we gave them 3 free opportunities, if I'm not mistaken. We hit somebody. So, yeah, the 4 did give you a different feel, but to feel that the game was in total control at that point, I still did not have that feeling. But the fight and the effort to come out when it's tough, those moments when you're playing and coaching, when you have to walk into this after those 2 games, is different. It's one of the most difficult things you have to deal with, to motivate and find the focus, to shake off the bad moments you've gone through, to try to play a championship level game on Sunday. So that's a good sign for us. The weekend overall clearly was not, but when you're talking about today, this is what we had to do. It was one of those must-win feeling games, and it's the first time we've been through that with this crowd. I was proud of the way they played.
Does that not also speak to what Wyatt can be? I mean, they were hitting so many rocket shots off almost everybody you put on the mound. For him to come in and just silence them for 6 innings.
Yes, I mean, it's 3 elite pitches. He's so versatile and so athletic and so talented, and kind of likes to compete. You can see that he enjoys the competition, and he didn't want to come out. But that was enough. Like, he threw on Wednesday for us, and that was plenty. He's a competitor, and so is our catcher. I'll tell you what, he's had an inning or 2 off, maybe, and to hit left-handed and to do the things he did today from the left side of the plate when he had not done it like until this year. The blocks he made early in the game when Carson's trying to reel it in and find it, and he's all over with some of those sliders. And then Colton, he got to break down the post-game meeting today. I was really impressed with him again.
Are you thinking, kind of looking at, I mean, you threw Connor and Wyatt Wednesday in the midweek. Are you thinking they'll both regularly be available in midweek games, or maybe more focus them on the weekends going forwards?
It just depends how these things go, because I can't control some of the things that come up in the competitive moments. We can control who we put in, but how it escalates sometimes determines what happens as you look to your midweek game. And our midweek games are very difficult. They're very difficult. So if you have somebody available and you have a moment where they can help you stay in one of those games, I feel like we have to do it. It's hard to save everybody and hold on just for the weekend stuff. So that's how they can help you. And I know this series didn't go exactly the way we needed it to, but they clearly both helped us on Wednesday and then also for the weekend.
Ben Barrett had a pretty good weekend hitting the ball. It was his first time hitting. How do you think he reacted to them this weekend and how he did?
The same thing happened every time we scrimmaged. He gave us really good at bats, and he sprays it around a little bit. He's an athletic kid. We were trying so hard to get him calibrated to extended pitch that he was one of the 5 or 6 guys that we extended pitch counts in the preseason. So after he does that, from a safety standpoint, what do you want him to go do in the infield and on the bases after he's thrown significant bullpens or thrown 60 or 70 pitches of live scrimmage stuff? You have to be intelligent about what you're doing. When Diamas goes down and now Holbrook's down, it now opens up a need for somebody else. And he jumped in there and did a great job. He's got to tidy up his base running. We will. There were things that came up for him at every base that weren't good, but we're throwing a lot at these young guys, at the whole team. But some of it for him is the first time he's ever actually been on a field in a game like this to experience the game itself.
Do you have an early prognosis on Holbrook's new injury he picked up?
It's some sort of hammy. They're going to look at it tonight with some imaging, and they'll have a better idea of how long that is. It's nice that you have that capability to look in there and see how bad it is. But we saw last night what he's capable of doing. So he'll be back. It's just not going to be like Tuesday.
When they have an as experienced lineup as you talked about, I think they have 5 guys in their lineup that are at least 23 years old, and you're trying to work a lot of new guys into new roles. Just how do you evaluate after this weekend the pitching staff?
Well, you're learning the mistake result is magnified, and they learned that. Like we did too, but when you're throwing the ball and you see where that thing's supposed to be and where it actually goes and what happens to it against that crowd, there's some instant lessons for you, and some of them are painful. So, in the roles, we didn't get a good start. Make no mistake, we really didn't, and we're going to have to address that. I don't know, sitting here Sunday after that ordeal, what the answer is. We'll figure it out. But those guys have the routine and the ability to hopefully benefit from the structure of being a starting pitcher. And clearly, it was not in check with their performance and extension and command of the outings. So we'll address it. But I learned we still have a lot to learn. Our pitching staff is a little bit of a work in progress and learning. I don't know how many guys are in the same roles, and really probably 2, right? Wyatt and Whitaker. So that's very unusual to be in that situation with your staff is having to reshape essentially its entirety. So we're learning, and there's guys chomping at the bit that are down there that are waiting to pitch. I know B-Walk they wanted Flowers, Stockton, B-Walk. I know. And we go on what we see in our training and our practice, and we try to give the guys the opportunity in games based on what we see, and theirs will come.
Do you worry about confidence at all when from a pitching staff when that happens after such a good weekend last weekend? Or is it more like, look guys, this is a really, really good lineup, and it seemed like every time they hit a ball hard, they didn't have any atom balls. When you made a mistake, it seemed like they jumped on almost all of them.
Well, you do worry about their confidence a little bit, and when you dive into the video, the reality of it is, like, this is the game at the highest amateur level. This is it. So you have to learn how to execute better. Confident or not confident, you got to dial it up and focus that thing into the lane. If it's supposed to be a lane that is a strike, fine. If it's not, it should not be a strike. And people still may swing at it, or you may get an out on balls out of the zone. So in some of those counts, you're trying to not throw a strike. And again, that crowd over there, it was loud and it was all over the park, and you have left-handed hitters shooting balls in that corner off Corral and hammering balls. Same guys. Just very impressed.
Did you Did you like the way Kirkland responded? He had the 2 walks, and then he struck out a really good hitter when the game was starting to get tenuous a bit. And
Yeah,
I guess
when-
struck out the side in the ninth.
Well, yes, he did. That's what some left-handed bats mixed in with the righties can do. Pitchers that are equipped with quality stuff, if you let them face 4 or 5 of the same thing, they start to settle in and really repeat what they're doing. But when you go from a couple righties to here come 2 lefties, that fastball zone and locate, it's just different. So I think that's what happened a little bit. And then when he got back to the righties, he was back on it, which was good, and we definitely needed it.